Good afternoon, everybody. As Tim mentioned, I'm sort of pinch hitting here for Greg Miller, who's one of the co-founders of the Open Source Digital Voting Foundation. Greg, unfortunately, his wife got suddenly sick due to some surgical complications and couldn't make it out today. So, Greg, my thoughts are with you and your wife, PJ. Hopefully I do your work justice here. So I think we can all agree here that in the last decade, we've really witnessed a steady decrease in the trust in computers that are used to run various parts of our election systems. Major flaws have been exposed in these systems with no real way right now to run verifiable elections. Now, although the Help America Vote Act in 2002 was supposed to restore our faith in these systems, especially after the debacle of 2000, it really hasn't done much to lead us away from the problem of the quote-unquote hanging Chad that we're all pretty familiar with. Now, the result of this HAVA Act is that we have proprietary voting systems now. But what we really, really need are truly open, publicly owned, transparent voting systems. So the only way, really, to restore trust in these voting systems is to shift away from black box voting to what the foundation is calling glass box voting. And we need to create trustworthy voting technology, make it publicly available for any jurisdiction out there to adopt, adapt, and deploy. This, in a nutshell, is the mission of the Open Source Digital Voting Foundation. Now, the work of the OSDV Foundation really intends to do three things. First of all, to improve transparency and integrity in the elections that we have today, to advance electoral technology reform with real, true accountability, and third, to strengthen democracy and civil society. The flagship effort of this foundation is what's called the Trust the Vote Project, and it's an effort based in Silicon Valley, comprised of some of the most talented people out there, computer and software engineers, that are really focused on the challenge of designing and building this truly trustworthy voting system. I've been working with these guys for nearly a year. I can actually vouch for their skills personally. They're amazing engineers. They're working for completely open standards in elections data, in ballot casting and counting and verification, and this is actually a full-time effort for 9 people, and backed by a much, much larger development community. This is all necessary because really at the end of the day, it's difficult stuff to design for the 4 legs of integrity, which are accuracy, trust, transparency, and security. And this team is designing and developing using the latest techniques and technology, which are guided by these 4 tenets. They're addressing everything from user experience to accuracy in counting and casting and counting, to trust in ballot tallying and recount, to transparency in every step of the process, and finally to the challenges of really making certain, and this is a big one, that any computer used in any aspect of the election can be secured with a trust but verify mentality. There's a lot of talk out there about how difficult this is, but it's one of the critical components of this. Now, anything that we can do to increase transparency and unlock information in government technology is critical, but this is one of my favorite phrases of this project. The technology underlying our elections and voting is really nothing short of critical democracy infrastructure. The Trust the Vote project is really rebuilding the entire ecosystem of the entire election system. It starts at the very early stages of voter registration, ballot design, and then goes through actual casting and counting systems. They're really taking this, I would say, from the ground up. They're starting at defining data standards, building a framework from there that really any jurisdiction can utilize. We're actually utilizing it in a pilot form in our general election in November for overseas voters. Now, this is imperative, and it's incredibly critically important because with elections, one size really doesn't fit all in the United States. We have over 3,500 different jurisdictions, and each one of those jurisdictions has different policies, different procedures, different processes, different protocols. And so we have to be able to design a system that's flexible in order for many, many people to use it. This framework here does respect that and makes it possible to actually be easily adapted. So this actually means also, though, considering points throughout the entire elections process, not just on the front end, but also on the back end. Where we have absentee ballots that are delivered and counted. The tallies are rolled up, they're verified, and they're published to determine the winner of any contest. Each step of the way, the framework here is being designed to introduce innovation that the proprietary voting systems market has never been able to support, because there's really no profit model that makes it work. One of the important things here is that OSDV is doing this through a network of collaborators. So when the project started, the foundation knew it had to recruit domain experts to drive some of these requirements and specifications. It's built a network of collaborators which include academic institutions, activist organizations, technology companies, and most importantly, elections officials themselves. This is the real key to the stakeholder community, being comprised of these elections officials and administrators and domain experts from around the country. They're the people who need to be able to buy into this. And today, this stakeholder community is actually composed of over 200 members from about 23 states, representing 62.5% of the electorate of America. This is reaching a tipping point. We're doing it here in the district. Other jurisdictions are looking at doing this as well. And with the support of this growing community, the project, the Trust the Vote project, is really, I think, increasingly becoming the kind of change that we are all interested in here in this room. So let's take a quick look at some of the innovations that these guys are doing. In voter registration, the foundation partnered with Rock the Vote, and they've created an open source registration service that uses barcode technology to speed up the process of voter registration, and does a great job of removing the errors that fat fingering or translating between paper and the digital world has been causing. Another good example is poll books. All of you are probably familiar with the large stacks of paper that most of your poll workers have when you go to cast your vote, and you're used to seeing them literally cross off your name with a pen and note that you voted. Obviously, this is a prime area for technology to jump in and save the day, but the issue is that the proprietary technology that's in place today is really failing at this. And this is a true story. As I said, I went to vote the other day in the district, and I was curious why the interface of this e-book, this e-poll book that we had actually just acquired, was so clunky and slow, and it looked like pretty modern hardware. Well, it turns out that the underlying code is actually written in COBOL, which for those of you who are about 80 in here will probably remember, it was a language developed in the 60s or 70s and hasn't really been used much since. So this is a great example, right? So the innovation possibilities here are obvious, right? Something simple like what you see on the screen, rapid lookups of voter registration, somewhere that we can actually check somebody in. How about something that we just heard a question about, signing in on a modern tablet device? And there are definitely ways to do this that fit within protocols and election officials will buy into. And then, even if the person ends up in the wrong place, this is something that we've never been able to do before, which is shocking to me. If you show up in the wrong place, historically, you're told, oh, well, forget it, I don't know where you're supposed to vote. But what we can do now is look up where that person's supposed to vote, print them out a map, and say, here's how you get from A to B, and even give them give the new polling place a heads up that somebody's going to be coming to vote at your polling location. So really, that's what the Open Source Digital Voting Foundation is all about. I'm a big fan, obviously. The mission here is really, in my mind, very important. We're here to really deliver this critical democratic infrastructure. We need to ensure accuracy, transparency, trust, and security in the vote. And we need to make this publicly owned technology. It needs to be available to anyone to inspect, adapt, and implement. If I think about what Gov 2.0 really actually means to me, this is a great example, right? We're reinventing how America votes here in the 21st century. Thank you guys all very much for your time. Greg, again, thoughts go out to you and PJ. Good afternoon.